Hi, this is Joseph Martin again. The topic for the introduction to yoga today is called I Am Yoga, and I'll describe that. First, we want to look at the history of yoga, where it comes from, what it is, and what it's for. Well, we know that unlike today, which is a very specific time in our science of humanity here in the 21st century, where everything is meant to be specifics, it's meant to be reduced to the material world only, really, and technology and things that have physical visibility and matter. We want to take it to a much larger photo or image or picture or symbol of what yoga really is meant to be for. Yoga today in the Western world, which is now the global world, is really just about physical body yoga for relaxation, flexibility, strength. It has to do with diet, breathing, exercise, and some meditation. But really, yoga is not about the physical body. The physical body is only one of four bodies, as we know from the Bhagavad Gita and all the other ancient spiritual cultural traditions on the planet. From anthropology, we know all of this. The four bodies are the etheric body, which is the eternal immortal soul energy body, united with Source. And this is what yoga is for, and I'll get into that in a moment. And then we have the causal mental body and the emotional energy body of the astral body. Now, yoga is really unifying your soul consciousness with God, with the Creator, Sangwayatiza, we say in Mohawk, with God, Goddess, with however you deem the source to be in your cultural, spiritual tradition. So when we say this new unifying yoga that I'm presenting here today called I Am Yoga, there's two ways you can look at this. One is you can say I am yoga because I choose to and intend to identify and unify and unite with all that is in the universe. I intend to unite with God, Goddess in me, my inner source, which is here right inside my heart. It's my spiritual, mental, emotional, feeling heart within my physical body, my physical chakras. This is really what yoga is meant to be. And we're going to see in this coming series on all the kinds of yogas in the world what yoga really can come back to be as a unifying experience and process for every individual in the world and in fact for all humanity now, because we are moving to a global consciousness that's all over the world. And we could call it Occupy Yoga Love as unity with the divine. Now, back 5.6 billion years ago, when humans were thinking about coming to this solar system with planet Earth, there was a notion that we needed to embody our etheric being and realize and keep our unity and our divinity with all that is, with the source of the universe. Keep that hidden within ourselves and emanating and radiating with love and joy. So we have in the early part of the history of humanity on planet Earth, say 4 million years ago, and during the time of Lemuria, and later in Atlantis. But in Lemuria, we knew that there were lots of ways, techniques, and methodologies for people to experience their unity with the divine. And I will get into that in future concepts that we deal with in future videos. In Atlantis as well, we had many techniques and temples, as we did in Lemuria, for people to go to learn to unite with the divine within themselves and throughout the universe. Over time, unfortunately, this went by the wayside. However, if we look at the historical roots of yoga here in the modern time, we can go back at least 2 million years, and certainly 100,000 years or 150,000 years in shamanism. Shamanism, in anthropological terms and spiritual terms, is the beginning of yoga here in the modern times on Earth. The shamans knew, and all the cultures of the world, whether it be the shamans here in the first nations of the three Americas, or the Chukchi in Siberia, or the Australian Aborigines of the Maori in New Zealand, Kiwi land, and hello down there in Kiwi land. We knew that the shamans had the processes to move energy through their consciousness. That consciousness was not only just in their physical body, it was in their heart and in their emotions. It was in their mind, their deep unconscious mind where their superconscious lived. And so yoga really is about moving prana, as we say in Hinduism, or chi, as we say in the Chinese way, or arenda, as we say in the First Nations way, and all the shamanistic traditions. Yoga was meant to harmonize, balance, and flow energy between yourself and the divine as you knew it to be in your experience, not just in your mind only, but in your feelings and your emotions. And it's interesting to note, isn't it, that in yoga today, as it's practiced around the world, there's very little consideration given to feelings and emotions, which really is what unites yourself and your consciousness with the divine in you as you come to know yourself. So, yoga then moved through the Hindu period. We know that 8,000 years ago that some of the ancient rishis in India came to experience in their own internal awareness what yoga really meant and how to attain that and keep that alive within the third dimensional human experience. And so they did bring it to the culture of ancient India. And through time and historically, and now you can find this anywhere online, we have different people in the ancient Hindu tradition, some ancient doctors. We have Babaji, for instance, in the 2nd century AD. We have other people, Premananda. We have Patanjali, who wrote the Yoga Sutras, and we have Shankaracharya, his Divine Crest Jewel of Discrimination, which you can find online now, English translated from the ancient Sanskrit. And yoga was brought through to the Hindus in a very powerful, positive, and very clear way through all the sutras and through all the new traditions that were emerging in yoga. It came down to modern times, and we have different kinds of yoga which have now spread to the West, and I'll get to that in a minute. We have Bhakti Yoga, Raja Yoga, Kriya Yoga, Kundalini Yoga, Mantra Yoga, Tantra Yoga. We have Hatha Yoga, which is simply the physical yoga that we know best here in the Western world. However, there is a lot more to yoga than this, and I will explain all those terms in further videos. But for now, let's just say, how did yoga come to the Western global consciousness, which now actually is worldwide? The first person to bring yoga to the Western world was Swami Vivekananda, the great Hindu wisdom teacher of ancient times in the last century or so, who in 1893 came to Chicago to the Congress of World Religions and got a standing ovation just by standing up and sharing his love energy without saying a word, except, "Hello, sisters and brothers of America, I welcome you in the name of the most ancient tradition on the planet." And they all stood up and they gave him this rousing applause. And then in 1925, Paramahansa Yogananda, the founder of self-realization as a global experience, came to the West, he came to America, and he taught yoga. He taught what his root guru, Babaji Nagaraj, asked him to teach, which is the connection between Krishna and Krishna consciousness and Jesus and Christ consciousness together in Kundalini Kriya Yoga. Kundalini Kriya Yoga has been brought to the West now. It's well known. It is what I've been able to thankfully and humbly teach now for quite about, I'd say about 40 years here in the Western world in Canada. And Kundalini Kriya Yoga has also become known as a psychological spiritual emancipation technique called rebirthing. And you may want to read about that at some time as well. Now, there were others, of course, who came to the West and taught these techniques of yoga. Some of them are Muktananda and Shivananda, and there are quite a few others, of course, that have now come to the West in the last 130 years. However, you know, like many things in the Western world that's scientific and that's useful to the general public, things have become very diversified, very specified. We have all kinds of yoga now. We have hot yoga, cool yoga, cold yoga. We don't have frozen yoga, but I like frozen yogurt. And we have all kinds of other things like flow yoga, dance yoga, trance yoga. What I'd like to suggest to us all is that we need to acknowledge that we're more than just a physical body with physical needs in terms of relaxation, unstressing, getting some functionality in our organs, and also some flexibility and strength, all of which is good because I work out 2 hours every day at the gym. But we need to focus on the core of what yoga really is. And what is yoga? It's union with the divine inside yourself and throughout the cosmos and all that is in the universe. When we come to the heightening global consciousness that we're all emancipating ourselves and opening to this super consciousness now, we will find that we do need essentially and critically to unite ourselves, our consciousness, with our own spiritual inner nature, with our own deepest, highest mind, and with the emotions and feelings that rule our hearts so that we can move forward in a unified, balanced way and connect with love, compassion, humility, and kindness and respect to all the great beings around us on the planet, not just the human two-leggeds, but the standing ones, the trees that don't move, but share their love with us, and all the animals as well. Yoga is respect and energy feeling connection with all that is. So, having said all this, you're probably asking yourself a whole bunch of questions, and that's a good thing because it's always more important to ask questions than to initially just find simple answers. I'm hoping this is inspiring you to look deeper into your heart and your soul and your consciousness, to want to emancipate yourself from just the physical overcoat that you are taking good care of, hopefully, and really search out what the true meaning of yoga can be. My suggestion in the coming videos will be that we can look at this as I am yoga, meaning that you're embracing your own chosen divinity in connection with the divinity, the spiritual inside your heart. And also, some of you may be familiar with the term the I am master presence, which is the great spiritual master, super consciousness, cosmic consciousness, Christ consciousness, Buddha consciousness, if you like, that pervades the entire universe and is what you're made of. It's the chi, the prana, the adamantine particles, the orenda that keeps flowing through you, bringing you life and love and liberty. Just a few things before we close now about where do these postures come from in some of the mantras. Mantras are hand gestures, and the yantras, which are symbolic geometric shapes of color, and they do have sound, although we're usually shown in two-dimensional forms. Where do they come from? Well, they actually come from the ancient Buddhist tradition. The Buddha, 2,500 years ago,